Well, I've got my head glued to the phone, just like I said I would not this week. But obviously, there's some breaking news on the horizon at some point. Eventually, it might be breaking right now. Um, if you're actually watching us, wow, good for you. Thanks so much. I know there's a lot going on this week. You didn't have to check in with us, but you did, and we appreciate it. I'm Jamila Lemieux. Welcome to The Kids Are Asleep, Slate's once a week fun adult chat show where we talk about our kids and don't talk about our kids, and we drink and we decompress a little bit to the best of our ability. There's a lot of decompressing that's going to need to happen after this week, of course, because we are square in the middle of the election and we are waiting to find out who, between the two gentlemen at the top of the ticket, actually both won enough votes to be elected the winner and will actually be the winner. That might not be the same person, of course, if you know anything about American history, but we're hoping that it will be, and that person will be, of course, Joe Biden. So I'm not going to do a fun monologue this week. I'm not going to talk about my kid. She's good. She was an adorable little Kamala Harris for Halloween last week. She did her first blowout. It was a whole thing. There was hair, there was bounce. It was a lot. My dear friend, Kiara Pasante Houghton is here. She is a strategist. She is an activist and mama. She is one of my favorite wonks and DC girls on the Hill. And we're going to talk about this crazy election and what's happening in this moment and what is likely to come next. So please welcome my dear sister friend to the stage. And while she loads up, hello.
Hi.
I'm nervous because I feel like, okay, so one, before you tell me, I intentionally, I'm very curious to hear what your Tuesday night was like. I tapped out. I put my phone away. I decided to not find out, and I didn't find out until the next morning. And so I'm curious to know, have you been plugged in 24/7? Have you taken a break?
So I did get some sleep last night, thanks to the phenomenally, I think, American invention of melatonin gummies. I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. And it's so funny to me whenever I hear people say that, like, they have, that they can, unplug or turn off their phone on election night, because that's just, like, not been ever my reality, like, especially not in my career. One day it will be, though, but I've never had the opportunity to just not pay attention. I'm usually, so I will say that this Tuesday night was unorthodox for me in that I am typically in a war room. I'm sorry, that's so jargony. I'm typically in a room, in a hotel somewhere, locked in a room or sitting around a conference table with a ton of other people who do this work, who are all on their phones, who are all on their laptops, watching returns, talking to the candidate, if that's what I'm doing in that time, preparing them for a victory or a concession speech, and the like. So this year was definitely different. And this entire campaign was different, right? Because people were doing the functions that we normally would do in campaigning from home, which was just bizarre. Like, it was really, really bizarre. The normal things that you would do to, like, get people excited, have events, have rallies. Now, yes, we saw some of that toward the end, obviously, because people are getting relaxed and getting comfortable. but even the safest precautions that were taken were, drive-in rallies and car rallies. But this was a year like no other, and so it made sense that my Tuesday night was like no other election night. I will say, and I had this conversation with someone else earlier, that as uncomfortable as it is, I think, for us to sit through this counting process, I keep thinking back to 2000 when we didn't actually know who the next president was going to be until December 11th.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit of perspective for people. So
absolutely.
I know that was 20 years ago, and I think why that the memories at that time are probably triggering a lot of people right now, rightfully so, are one, because we're seeing a lot of the same tactics that Republicans are employing to try to, like, intimidate people, threaten people, scare people, try to shut down vote counting and all of that. The other scary thing about it is now that 3 out of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court were involved in the Florida recount in 2000.
Yep.
So that is why we cannot let these results go to the Supreme Court. And we need to let the will of the people stand. So that's how my Tuesday was. I was on my couch. I definitely was drinking. We'd ordered wings, so that was real black. We put the child to bed, like on time early. You know, it was like if normally she goes at 8, it was like, okay, 7:30. Let's
7:50.
let's wrap this up. Get in the tub. Thank you. And it was, but I was prepared and expecting not to know on Tuesday. So that was also, I think, helpful for me. I realized, again, that's very inside baseball. Not a lot of people knew that. And so they're like, what is this madness? And I'm like, no, this is exactly what I thought would happen.
Yeah, I think I was surprised how many people expected us to know. Like, just considering all the things that I think we had every hint in front. I mean, it was reported widely that we would not know right away. But here we are. And yet it looks like we may be close to knowing. And I'll say today was the first day. Today was the first day that I was kind of like 75% back online because I've been really I've really been working, and 2, just kind of taking care of myself and bracing myself for the work that's going to come, whatever this result is.
Yeah.
And that what I was not in the position to do was to have an emotional reaction, you know, that took me down for a minute to this not going well. So I was like, I just need to, you know, I've been meditating and reading Black women and soaking my feet and just writing it. But what I have in front of me, I hadn't done it in so long. I bought a foot bath at the beginning of quarantine, and I've only done it like 3 times. This is maybe the third time.
Like the tub, like the actual
little simple little boat with the bubbles and the home.
That was so smart.
They're so
probably
cheap,
a lot of
and they
money now.
I think they're back down because I think what they did. I think I was lucky because I was looking at them after I got mine. I was like, "Am I crazy that they go up?" Because everybody had them. So wait, so I have in front of me. I'm eating cake that I'm having for dinner. I might chase it up. Yes, it's gluten free. So even though I don't have celiac disease, I can still pretend that I'm doing something a little bit healthier. I love to pretend. I love to pretend. It's a celebratory sort of food. Should I be celebrating right now? Because whatever happened in the last hour, I was on a call and I missed it. And I heard our producer's mom scream in the background right before we got on. So where are we at right now? Should I be eating my funfetti cake with a smile?
I think that everyone in America should be eating funfetti cake right now. So while there is not a certified final answer, I think what you may have heard screaming, I'm assuming I'm making this up, but what you probably heard screaming about was the returns coming back in Georgia, which is, I mean, it's literally, I've said this multiple times to people, and I think, you know, they increasingly are starting to realize it, but like Stacey Abrams is a genius. Stacey Abrams is brilliant. And she put a plan in place like 6, 7, 8 years ago to try to register like every Black and brown person in Georgia to try and then to try to turn them all out around progressive causes. And I said a good friend of mine, Janae, who's also like in it today, said like today she went from like just like candidate and leader to kingmaker. Right, because she proved like, and very rarely, and there are so few Black women who are in that position. Like so few, but the fact that we are 48 hours after the end of voting in an American election and the state of Georgia is still not called, and that's because it looks like Biden has won Georgia, okay? Because of the gap that he has closed, and the number of ballots left to count are like 80% Democratic ballots. So it's becoming a little more real that this is a state that for the first time in, did Jimmy Carter win Georgia? Yeah, first time in a long time that a Democrat has won Georgia. And so that's a thing, and that might be the expression you heard. But honestly, I mean, I'd be eating the funfetti cake because really this victory is for Black people. You know, it is unapologetically and clearly for Black people. Like, we made this happen. If it had not been, I mean, and it's tragic and it's horrific that we had to have the most, the biggest movement in American history this year. The uprisings around the murders of so many of our dearly departed brothers and sisters. But that movement has taken that energy and done, among other things with it, turn people out to vote. And that's what happened. And if you notice, the places that are outstanding where they're still counting ballots are from Atlanta, Philly, Detroit was like
Detroit.
holding on before the AP called Detroit. It was like Detroit, like they called Michigan. It's Detroit. And there's a reason for that. And that's also part of the reason why they're trying to sue to stop those votes from being counted, because they know what Black people did here. So that's really the main reason why I'd be eating funfetti cake if I were you. I actually did have some Carvel ice cream cake earlier because it's my amazing husband's birthday. And the cake was delicious. Yeah, that's reason enough to have the funfetti cake. Of the states that are outstanding, Biden is in very, 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 very good shape to win all of them. the ones that we need to get over 270. And that's obviously the relic of slavery, the Electoral College. But the math is that, the to your point, every person who gets the most votes doesn't always become president, as we saw in 2016 and many other times, because of the Electoral College. But he is on track to collect enough to take him over 270 Electoral College votes to actually be named president-elect and then be sworn in January 20th. So,
and
we're just waiting.
So it's not looking like we're going to get to that point before tomorrow night, though, is it?
Well, so actually, I think so. It's interesting because earlier today there was a point where we thought it would happen like by now, and I think it was really a matter of there were some precincts in I know in Pennsylvania and I know in Georgia where they just didn't have enough people, like because of COVID and the spacing in the room and in the room that they had and the tables you need, like just like logistically, and the number of cameras you have to let in, right, and the whole thing and the observers, they just didn't have enough space and enough for the machines and the people, so like they're just feeding these ballots into these machines, but like humans are doing it, so they're doing it as quickly as human hands and arms can put it into the machine, and so I think if anything, that's been probably most of the delay. I saw the Fulton County, Georgia, which is where Atlanta is. Supervisors of elections. He did a press conference earlier, and he was like, "Look, I've fit as many people as I possibly can in this room. We are moving as fast as we can. We are going to make sure every vote is counted. Like, chill out and bear with me." And that's just like what we have to do. We are in a pandemic. Julie, you and I are on the same page about this, but just because everyone is sick of the pandemic doesn't mean the pandemic is sick of us, okay? The pandemic is still here. Today, the country passed a new record for new cases, okay? We have 100,000 new cases today in this country, and it's not going anywhere. Like, we're going back inside. It's getting colder. It's cold and flu season. It's going to get very, very bad again very quickly. And they... because of that, we have this historic number of mail-in ballots that people have to count. It's not like people was going in and screen, tap, 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 and then walking out. Like folks were like dropping it in a Dropbox, dropping it in the mail. The postal service is in court today because of these 150,000 votes that just never were delivered, right? And so with all of that process happening, and it's good that it's happening deliberately because then it's going to be ironclad and we don't have to live through a recount or any of that foolishness. But when it's all said and done, Joe Biden will be then president-elect and the next president of the United States. And more importantly, we are going to have a Black woman. This is the part that people keep forgetting about. A Black woman who attended the Howard University as vice president of the United States. So that's the part that's gotten me, I think, a little bit emotional this week. If I've allowed myself to have any sort of emotion, clearly there's going to be a ton of accountability work that's going to have to happen. But her being there means something. It especially means something to Zora. As I know you saw the video.
Yes.
The video of my child. It means something to her.
It sure does.
And to your I can't even, to your child, who I remember.
It's my child.
I don't know how we got from here to like here. I'm not really feeling it. But I guess that's what happens with time. They grow.
That's what happens. That's what happens. They
God willing.
grow.
God
And
willing.
God willing. So I allowed myself, I think it was the second time I had any sort of kind of feels. Like on election day, I put on my Howard shirt and because I've been very stoic and like, look,
You have.
I was not a fervent Hillary,
Yeah.
I felt like it was the right thing to do was to support her, and I did.
Mhm.
And that was devastating. So now it's kind of like when I stopped watching basketball, like I watched Derrick Rose tear his ACL. I haven't been a like diehard basketball fan since. So even though I've been watching politics, and participating a little bit, what I have not been doing is the feeling. I've been kind of going through the motions of like, here's, this is what I think is right. Here's who I feel is right. Here's what I'm going to do.
Right.
And so on Tuesday, when I put on my Howard shirt and, a little pink and green and pearls,
Of course.
I mean, of course, my
Listen,
beloved sorority sister.
y'all were,
but
y'all were out there. Let me just say,
yes,
y'all were out there. Okay.
And I went from, I was like, how did I go from like I'm dead inside to like I look like I just crossed, like strolling to the pole and pick up a grave. And I just, I felt a little something, when I felt that. First of all, I wish I had not had to scroll past Kanye Omari West to get to Kamala Harris's name, but he was maybe number 3 on him and whoever the hell he's running with that nobody knows. Was number 3 on the ballot here.
Every ballot he appeared on, it's with someone different.
Different people. It's just like it's an extravagant experiment in voter, I think, disenfranchisement and cocaine all converged together.
Probably. I think that's a smart take.
But so with that kind of broke the moment a little bit. Your glass is very cute. It broke the moment. That kind of like, oh, here we are. Like you see Trump's name, and it's like, oh, and then you're like, kind of, I forgot about this name. Like it just is like, why do I have to deal with this right now? And so I see Kamala's name, and I vote. I'm like, okay, good. And we had some great measures that we got to vote on here in California.
Yes.
Like, good. And, I'm happy that this is good. It's going to be a good day. And then I kind of like took myself offline, and so. I know that people have like once it became I don't even want to say like I've had things taken away from me before that I loved that I thought were a sure shot, right? We've all been close to something. We felt like this was gonna go. Ask Al Gore, right? Like I think after that I'll never until it's called. Like I could not believe Barack was going to win until then. But when they put his face on the screen, I remember seeing elected president and just being like,
I agree. I was same.
What?
Same.
I mean, it also happened very, very early that night, relative to every election that I've, witnessed in my life. That was a very quick.
Yeah, it was like 11:05.
Yeah, it was super early.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
So I won't allow myself to have that feeling yet, and I haven't said too much about Naeem, to Naeem about it. She's with her dad until tomorrow, but I've checked in with her and, she's aware and kind of just hovering around it, which is fine because I don't want to build her up and be like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, just kidding, but I do want to briefly talk about some of the things. So I'm curious to know what you had envisioned. And some of this is just silliness, and some of it is real, but like if things had gone differently. Like just some of the immediate concern, even just some of the things that I've been thinking about, regardless of the outcome. Like, it's the first time I've lived in a community in which I am outnumbered, culturally speaking. So I am, there are other Black people around here, but they're not a ton of us in this immediate, area. Even though it's still, a city. I'm in a real city or whatever. But like, I've thought about my like racially ambiguous, like, walking up because they were wilding over here. They were having events, like there were rallies. Like I got like I was trying to drive to a hike this weekend and I got caught up behind a MAGA rally. Like the flag. There's a man behind me with a Trump cardboard cutout coming out the roof of his Range Rover. Like everything that people would love to believe about. Oh yes, honey. Oh, this is on Santa Monica. This is on Santa Monica Boulevard.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
And so, that's the thing. Like I'm seeing it in real. Like I'm sorry to cut you off, but in real life, like that dispels that myth of the backwoods, uneducated, poor Trump voter, which we knew was a myth. But I'm seeing the ones that have the Range Rovers and the
Sure.
Benzes and the big houses, and
Sure. Sure. Um, I mean, every single possible scenario I think has gone through the minds of people who've been organizing and planning, or who those of us who do consulting and
no,
work with
no, no,
candidates
I'm
and
sorry.
campaigns.
I don't mean scenario. I want to talk about your personal safety plan. This is what I'm
Oh,
curious about. Because
oh,
what I
I'm
was talking about,
sorry. I
so
thought,
like the way, yeah, like when I wear my little
yeah,
reading glasses and I have a little scar, I stopped wearing headscarves, like I'm very intentional about
yeah,
headwear and stuff I wear out the house when I'm walking,
yeah,
like when I'm by myself in public. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't wear that. Like
yeah.
I would, this is the first time in my life where I wouldn't just wear this shirt walking down the street. Like I usually wear whatever I
Interesting.
want, but I'm like, I'm new around here. I don't know all y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
all are going to be. So before, I think I was fearful that, I mean, honestly, I never felt confident that Trump was going to win. I think what I saw was that he would not win, or it would be highly contested, which is kind of where we are now, and that they would
Yep.
start cutting up. I didn't see us taking to the streets. I saw the other folks,
Yeah.
cutting up
Yeah.
and
No, it's
acting out.
definitely not. It was never, I mean, it was never going to be us like doing the cutting up. It was going to be us protecting
Yeah.
and defending our folks and our homes and our property.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Black people defending their property. And so, I mean, my personal safety plan, honestly, I know this sounds so extreme and people have joke about this on the interwebs all the time, but I very seriously, I mean, so the first step of my personal safety plan was I got my child a passport. that was the,
Mm,
that was, I mean,
absolutely.
being
Yeah.
very serious. And I knew because of the
100%.
delays and because of the pandemic, we applied for it in the middle of the summer, hoping that it would get here by now, and it did. It came about 3 weeks ago. So we have everyone in this house has a
Gotta
passport
go.
that's valid,
Yep.
current, and in hand. So that is part of our plan. The other part of the plan, I mean, I had been for the last year plus researching different expat communities around the world. To be really honest, because I think, and you've written so brilliantly about this for years, and it is incredibly difficult, I think, to move through the world every single day as a black ass woman on my black ass life in this black ass body, knowing that like the majority of people you're interfacing with kind of hate you,
Say that
really
again.
kind
The
of hate you. The
majority.
majority, the
The
majority of people hate you,
majority.
and if they don't outright hate you, like they're not that concerned about like if
They're
other people hate you,
they're totally okay
and
with you not being here. They're fine
yeah,
with it.
totally comfortable with it. And so to me, um, I think all of us deserve a break or a reset from that once in a while. And I know it's popular to, people say, if so and so wins, I'm leaving the country. No, like I actually researched, like I narrowed it down to the 3 countries I liked. I picked the actual like towns and neighborhoods. I looked up hospitals and schools. Like I
Yeah.
actually did my work and planned it out and like bookmarked and saved everything. Talked to people who I knew had visited the places before. Like I actually put
Yeah.
together a little plan because I said, push come to shove, my child is still very young, and this was even before the pandemic and white supremacy shut down our schools. But my child, even if she was enrolled, she's young enough to where we could do these next year or two somewhere else, and it would not affect like her American education, basically. So
Yeah.
it was just the timing worked out. So I was like, well, listen, if we gotta, we gotta, and we have a plan, and we know where we're going and what we're doing. So that's really my personal safety thing. I have the incredible privilege of living in one of the most progressive jurisdictions in the country. There are Trump white folk around, but I don't like, especially not in my neighborhood, and I writ large don't really have to deal with them or interact with them. Thankfully, um, I I will say I don't tend to do um, solo outings. Like generally, I think we just discussed before. I'm very big into having things delivered. like I try to. I'm very very hyper like aware of like when my child is like outside with me and like just
Mm-hmm.
and like we're in like comments in people's hands and like because again Toni Morrison obviously said this more brilliantly than I'll just say, black girls aren't safe, like in this country. And like, you can be, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Oh my God, her hair. And like be reaching out to try to choke my child. I don't know what you're going to do. Like, I don't know you. So like,
Yeah.
part of my personal safety plan is that like, keeping my child away from folks, which I know is so horrible and it's isolationist, but like we have to do it anyway for this pandemic. So it's actually been a really good excuse for me because I'm like, oh, you know, we're being really careful about COVID. Sorry, like, can you just, yeah, okay, all right, so okay, thank you, bye. Like, like that's been like very good. But that's what I do. I hate it, but like I hunker down. I try to get stuff delivered when I can. When I can't, I very like should like methodically like, okay, I'm going from here to here to here. I'm wearing a mask. I'm doing this. Like I'm very right. Like let me just. I always. This is one thing that's been really different about me that you may find interesting. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the time and like my alerts. Is I don't really wear. I rarely leave the house now without an athletic shoe on. That's another thing that is very
that is interesting for you.
Me. And no, but I've been like into it. Like, oh, these Nikes, I'm ordering those. Oh,
me too.
I've been.
I'm a like, sneaker ordering ass bitch now. Where did this come from?
That's what I do. Like, I literally right now I'm looking in the living room of a bunch of pairs I need to clean up. I literally do not leave the house without an athletic shoe on now. And part of it is like in case I need to run, in case I need to like. And I know that's horrible. Like that is terrorism. Yeah. Like that I'm like, I need to be prepared to run. I need to be prepared to like quickly move, like bust some money. And I can't do that if I have on like my slides or like, you know, some sandals. So like that's literally what I do now.
I've taken another level. And to be fair, part of the reason that I can do this is because one, I drive again, and two, we're not going, you know, to the places we were going before. I carry small bags now. You know, we're big purse girls. We always got a whole life in a bag. I'm carrying clutches, waist bag. I'll put stuff in my pockets.
I was just going to run. I don't carry, like, literally. I try to eliminate the number of things that are in my hands. I recently invested in a raincoat. Like I never wear raincoats, but I was like, oh, J. Crew.
You don't want to have to carry an umbrella.
And I don't want to carry an umbrella. So I have big pockets now on my jackets or my hoodies. Phone is in one, wallet might be in the other, and that's it. Like, and and key, you know, if I need a car key or whatever, that's it. Like that is so bizarre. They were like, I literally. Crazy. Like, I know my husband probably thinks it's crazy because in the span of our, like, almost 11-year relationship, he's invested a lot of money in handbags for me. So to see me suddenly, like, I'm not even taking a crossbody. He's like, what's happening here? What are you doing? But that's what it is. I'm like, I don't want to have to, I want to be able to go and go. I don't want to have to carry a bunch of stuff. I don't want to have to, I just need to be able to move. And that's unfortunately where we are. So
I wanted to ask you about that because I feel like it's kind of like, you know, think back to the first Obama inauguration and they took that walk and how we were all dying on the inside, but it wasn't something that people were really talking about. And then when they did it on Black, they talked about it on Blackish. It was like, oh my God, were we all afraid that he was going to get shot? I wonder how many of us are like ducking, dodging. Like when I see a pickup truck, I get the fuck wherever I'm going, I get gone. You know, there's just certain things that become so triggering and so frightening for me now. And just the fact that like, yeah, I'm a girl who we love a slide. I love a comfy shoe, you know, like I'll walk in Sperry's. Like I don't have to have
some of the same slides.
We have some of the same slides, you know, but like now I'm like, I need on sneakers because I need to be able to run. Well, speaking of running, we are going to run because I know this is a big breaking news night and you got to get back to work and all that stuff. So we are not going to get out of here before we play our game though. So you've got I'm putting 60 seconds on the clock. As you'll recall, we played this last time.
I hope I do better this time.
I think you'll do great. So I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock for you. Mm-hmm. And today's questions are going to be election inspired. So quick question, and for those of you who are new to the game, one quick question. In the spirit of our children who wait until the most inopportune times to ask us something real quick, I'm going to give I'm going to give my lovely guest 60 seconds to answer as many 3-year-old questions as she possibly can. Are you ready?
I am. Yes, as ready as I'll ever.
All ready as you'll ever you are, as ready as you ever be. Perfect answer. All right, let's go. So who's the president, Mommy?
Barack Obama. That's actually what we say in our house. See, you wasn't ready for that.
I wasn't ready for that. Okay, Mommy, if Trump lost, that means he goes home tomorrow?
Unfortunately, honey, no, that's not what it means. That's not how it works.
But he lost.
That's right. Yes.
So he's not the president anymore.
Well, he's the president for a little while longer, and then he won't be the president in after Christmas.
So we're getting a new president for Christmas?
Yes, we're getting a new president for Christmas. Isn't that so exciting?
Can I have a Baby Alive doll and also an LOL surprise and also
Do you
Holiday
have
Barbie?
Do you have holiday Barbie money?
Yeah, buy my baby a Holiday Barbie. 60 seconds
She'll
to
tear
start.
up the dress. I'll be
I
so
know
mad
she's
at
not
her.
ready yet. I know.
Actually,
I
she
can't
probably
wait.
won't.
I can't wait
She takes
until
really
this is.
good care of her like Tiana dress, and she might not actually. Who knows?
I was gonna say Aries. This is when Barbie started for us. This is time. It's time.
Oh,
Kira
I love.
Fasante
I had on my I had on my Barbie Biden Harris sweatshirt today. I just took it off. Yeah,
Well, it's almost
I had my
Barbie
Black
season
Woman
in your
Lead.
house.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
Black
shout
Women
out to
vote.
Black Women Lead, Black Women Vote. Shout out to She Will Rise. Shout out to Black women. Shout out to you. Shout out to all of the Black women organizers and elected officials and volunteers and phone
Yes,
bankers and
who are carrying
uh,
this country on their back. Shout out to
carrying.
Christmas. I'm very much. This is how I spark joy. I drink things out of Christmas mugs now to feel like it's Christmas already.
That's hilarious. Well, it is almost time. I'm so confused. Like I've been seeing Black Friday stuff for the last couple of days, and because I haven't mentally shifted from like associating cold weather with that time of year. So I'm like, yo, they're wilding. It's summertime, but it's
Is it even gonna
actually
get cold for
November.
you
It
now?
doesn't get
Are you gonna
cold.
have a
No,
cold Christmas?
it gets nippy. It gets chilly.
Okay.
It's chilly. You need a little puff, a little puffer, you know. But hopefully, I will be staying warm this Christmas with the thought that we get to go back to what did I see a joke the other day? Hating the president a normal amount.
Right.
You know that we can have a regular,
Yes.
oftentimes antagonistic,
Oh, that's
critical
so
relationship
good.
to
That is
just a
so good.
regular relationship to a politician. It doesn't have to be this
so
emotional. It
good.
doesn't have to be this personal. It could just be a regular loathing for authority.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you so much, Kiara, for
You're
being
welcome.
here. Thank
so
you all
glad
so
we
much
did it.
for watching. This has been a hell of a week. Hopefully, when I
Oh my
see you
God.
next week, we will
Hell of a decade.
have
This week of a
hell of a
decade.
decade, week of a decade. Hopefully, when I see you next week, we will have confirmed that we have, in fact, elected a new president, and most importantly, a new vice president. And most importantly, a new vice president. You all have, yes, HU,
Howard Head.
you know, it's Howard Head, you know. Everyone have a great week. Be safe out there. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Yeah. Bye.